Hey everyone, hope you're having an amazing day. It's Code Karen. Welcome to r/Am I the A-hole, where we have 2 incredible stories with comments. If you're new to this channel, a sub would be great. Let's jump to the stories. Our first story is, Am I the a-hole? My shady boyfriend wants me to tell his coworkers that I am his wife. But why? I've been with my boyfriend for about 5 years and we live together. He does not want to get married, which I'm fine with for now, but it was a point of contention early on in our relationship. One morning last week, my boyfriend was talking to a coworker on a Zoom call when I walked in and brought him some coffee. The coworker saw me and said something like, "So, this is the lovely wife I've heard so much about." I responded with, "Thanks, but we're not married." He sounded a little confused and said, "Oh, your boyfriend always calls you his wife." We had an awkward moment. He introduced himself and I introduced myself. My boyfriend gave me a nasty look, so I ended the conversation quickly and said my goodbyes. I closed the door behind me, but felt a very weird vibe. A little while later, my boyfriend came out of the office and asked, "What was that about?" I didn't know what he meant, so I asked, "What was what?" He said there was absolutely no need for me to correct his coworker about our relationship status. He said it's better if people think I'm his wife. I looked him straight in his eyes and said, "I'm not your wife. I'm your girlfriend because that's what you want right now." This escalates into a major argument. I say sarcastically that Mr. Boyfriend never told me that his coworkers think we are married. I had no idea that he told people at work that I was his wife. His weak response was that I should have played along with it after his coworker called me his wife, and I shouldn't have corrected him. At that moment, I was so caught off guard that I had no choice other than to give his coworker an answer that was part polite, part confused, part awkward, all the while thinking that his coworker wrongly assumed that we were married. My boyfriend said that wasn't the point. The point was that there was no need to correct him, that it was rude, and that it made him look like a jerk. Now, here is where it gets really good. According to my boyfriend, the solution to this mix-up is when he has his next video call with this coworker. I am to come in the room again, strike up a conversation, and say to this coworker that I was messing with him, that I am actually your wife and am just joking that we are not married. An inside joke that I thought the coworker was in on. Is this the lamest thing you ever heard? I told him that this was the dumbest plan he'd ever come up with, and no way am I going along with this charade. He shot back with, "You are an a-hole." Accused me that I got him into this awkward lie, and now I have to bail him out. Should I say WTF, or am I the a-hole for not siding with my boyfriend and going along with his plan? Update. You're never going to believe this. My boyfriend and I had a long talk, and he confessed he kinda messed around with a female coworker, and apparently, "I can't leave my wife for you" sounded better than "I can't leave my girlfriend for you." So now, he's going to have to lie again and tell people we divorced. And I couldn't be happier. I'm leaving this relationship for someone better. Let me answer my own question to all of you. Not the a-hole. So, glad I found out in time. R6E9A says, "Let me get this straight. Your boyfriend doesn't have any plans to get married to you, and you somewhat have to come to terms with that decision. Now, he's mad that you won't pretend to be married? He is a messed up dude, not the a-hole." Placeholder 737 says, "Not the a-hole. Your comment was not out of place. It also seems pretty nervy of him to call you his wife after refusing to marry you. Also, his plan is the dumbest plan I've ever heard. It's making me go ballistic that he is using you to save face with his coworkers. Sick." K. Acacia says, "Not the a-hole, and you should find out why this is so important to your boyfriend. I know a guy who also calls his girlfriend his wife, but they've been together for many years, and it's only a matter of time until they marry, so they don't really care what other people call them. But your boyfriend seems to care a lot about this cover-up, and that's exactly what this is. I honestly don't know what to think about this wacky situation." Quark Wright says, "Let me sum this story from how I see it. Quote, I'm not going to marry you, but I'm going to tell other people we're married. But I'm not going to tell you about this fake marriage, so when they do mention it, you'll look like a deer in headlights. And if I get caught in my lie because you don't lie for me the way I instructed or prepared you to lie, then I'm going to get real mad and then force you to lie so that I can save face, because I can't handle that I've been caught lying." Wow. Not the a-hole. He's an adult. He wove his own tangled web and got stuck in it. It's not your job to untangle him. He needs to apologize to you. And if he ever fabricates another story that involves you, he needs to let you know. However, you can choose whether or not you are going to be part of a lie, especially when it's a lie about something as serious as marriage. Feeling Better Today says, not the a-hole. I was in your situation once. I regret every moment that I forced a relationship onto someone that didn't share my vision for forever love. I am so sorry, but you are being used. He doesn't want to commit to you, but he wants all the perks of marriage. He's keeping the door open for better options. He doesn't want to marry you, but he doesn't want to break up either. You benefit his life in so many ways, and he doesn't want to give that up, but he dreams of someone better. You will never be enough. Like me, you can tell yourself that you don't need marriage, but the truth is that he doesn't love you enough to marry you. It hurts, I know. If I told you to walk away, I doubt you'd listen. Believe me when I say that this relationship eats away at your self-esteem and makes you question your worth until you don't know who you are anymore. I hope you can be stronger than me, strong enough to walk away from a man that will hurt you. He's selfish and he's using you. I'm so sorry. Pirate Girl 91 says, I will give you this advice. My dad and his girlfriend were kind of the same. They both had been through horrible divorces and never planned on marrying again. They would use the term partner when talking about one another. This all changed when she went into the hospital for emergency surgery. Since my dad was not her legal husband, he didn't have a medical say in her treatment and he was devastated. 2 months later, they were engaged, and she is an awesome stepmom. You need to have a serious conversation with your boyfriend. He can't claim the title of husband if he isn't willing to put in the work for it. Out of Work Fly Girl says, this sounds shady as heck. You have to ask yourself, what good reason would a man who claims to be so vehemently against marriage have to tell all his coworkers he is married and then fly off the deep end and demand you keep up the we are married charade? Something is not adding up here. I'm Seska says, my boyfriend and I are somewhat in the same situation. He's also the one who's marriage reluctant and he knows that he doesn't want marriage. He doesn't get the use of the W word. Also, I don't really get the perk of saying wife instead of girlfriend. He says it's easier to say, but I'm not buying that. I've never been in a situation where it was in any more way convenient to say husband. This has Shady written all over it. Slow the Rain says, OMG, not the a-hole even before the update. Your boyfriend is the lowest of the low. The fake marriage was just a convenient lie to tell the coworker he was sleeping with. He's going to be dumped by 2 women at least. There might be even more women he was fooling around with. Marriage is not something you take lightly, and to use it as a fake excuse to end an affair, he is a DOG, and you are not the a-hole. Power on, girl. Our second story is, am I the a-hole for refusing to speak to my father after he kicked me out, but I still speak to my mother? Backstory. I, 17 female, was kicked out of my parents' house last year by my father for having an alternative lifestyle, as they called it, and I had to live on the street for a few weeks. My mother and siblings brought me stuff when my father was at work. One day, my grandmother found out that I was no longer living at home after I missed one of her calls. I never missed a call with my grandmother, so she called my mom and tore into my mom. This is how I came to be living with my grandparents. Fast forward to today. I refused to speak to my father after he kicked me out, but I call my mom at least 2 times a week. If my father answers the phone, I hang up. Yesterday, I received a text message from him blaming me for a fight he had with my mother about me. I think he came home while my mom was on the phone with me and overheard us talking. As soon as I heard him come into the room, I cut off my story and said goodbye to my mom quickly. I told her I loved her and hung up. He was mad that I would talk to my mom, but not with him. So what I'm asking is, am I the a-hole for refusing to speak to him? He is making me feel really guilty. Ardeek says, not the a-hole. I mean, I'm also judging your mom a bit for not doing anything to patch this relationship between you and your father. I think you're letting your mom off pretty lightly, to be honest. After your father kicked you out, your mom could have gone to your grandmother and asked her to take you in rather than leaving you on the streets, or paid for a motel room while she tried to find a solution. I'm glad your grandmother had words with your mom. I get why you wouldn't want to cut off your mom as well. You were young, and it's easy to throw all the blame on your father. But yikes at this whole situation. Circus Sloth 3 says, I'm sorry, this situation is so awful. You are obviously not the a-hole. Your father is horrible, and he forfeited his right to any level of respect or kindness from you when he kicked you out. Would you talk to someone who left you to sleep on the streets? He failed as a parent on the most basic level. You owe him nothing. To be honest, your mother is almost as bad as him, and I'm not sure why you're even speaking to her. Letting your father do that to you is insane. They're lucky you weren't assaulted or worse. I have an alternative lifestyle also, and coming out and dealing with family was really hard. I just want to say, hang in there. It really does get better, even if better means cutting off certain family members. I'm so much happier now than I ever thought I'd be. You have to be true to yourself. Freakish Nightmare says, not the a-hole, and I'm gonna judge your mother here on this too, because as much as you love her and are grateful to her, she's an a-hole and almost just as bad as your father, and here's why. She let your father kick you out from your home. She could have tried to fight it, but ultimately, she let it happen, and she's still with your father despite what happened. She didn't provide you with a safe place to live and allowed you to live on the streets. It doesn't matter if she visited you every day and helped you with some things. She let her child live on the streets for weeks. She could have called anyone to help you, but she didn't. Heck, she didn't even call your grandparents. She failed you, and I'm having a hard time understanding why you're not holding your mother accountable when she should be held accountable. And she should be apologizing 1,000 times over for letting this happen to you. Food Baby Baby says, not the a-hole. I'm so sorry you're going through this. What your father did was horrible, and it was sad to hear your mother couldn't stop him. I'm so glad you're in a loving home right now. Don't feel guilty that your parents are fighting. That's your father's fault. Your mother let him kick you out of the house. Not okay. The least she can do is stand up for you now. He needs to know what he did was very wrong. He owes you a big apology at the very least. Just know that you're loved and wonderful just as you are. You can't change yourself for anyone, and that includes family members. Gemma156 says, not the a-hole. Oh honey, this is very heartbreaking to hear. The only adult who acted as a responsible adult in your life was your grandmother. Your mother at the very least should have contacted your grandmother to make sure you had a bed, as life at home had become toxic for you. That was the least she could have done. Letting you live on the streets as a minor is absolutely shocking. Both of your parents are to blame for that. Having said that, it is time to heal. Every family situation is complicated, but you have to learn to forgive and move on with your life. I wish you a lot of luck and love. Hey Code Karen community, what would you do in this situation? I'd love to hear your comments.